Turning now to our coronavirus pandemic coverage, President Donald Trump tweeting he will lower flags to half staff over the next few days in memory of those who lost their lives to COVID-19. The flags will then stay at half staff on Monday for Memorial Day, honoring the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Now, meanwhile, today, Vice President Mike Pence will be in Atlanta meeting with Governor Kemp and restaurant industry leaders. Mara Sirianni joining us now outside the state capitol with what we can expect. Hey, Mara.
Vice President Mike Pence is expected to meet with those restaurant executives to talk about how to safely bring employees back to work. We know he's also expected to talk with them about how the dine-in operation has been going here in Georgia since reopening. Now, Air Force Two is set to land at 11:05 this morning. The Vice President is scheduled to have lunch with Governor Kemp and discuss Georgia's aggressive approach to reopening the state's economy. From there, he is set to meet again with those restaurant leaders for a roundtable discussion. That meeting is set to take place at the Waffle House headquarters. You might remember in the beginning, Waffle House was slow to close its restaurants, and later the chain was among the first in Georgia to reopen. CEO Walt Amer even took part in a White House meeting about reopening the country. Now, today's visit comes just one day after Vice President Pence traveled to Orlando to meet with Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis. And again, we are expected to learn more this morning about his visit to Atlanta, which is taking place today.
All right, Mara, thank you.